Welcome to the Best Business Podcast, the podcast for established marketers, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. The ones who want to join me in my mission to create 200 new multimillionaires who solve world problems with entrepreneurship. If that's you, then this podcast was created to give you access to the tools, training, strategies, and tactics you need to achieve multiple seven-figure profits as soon as possible. This world needs the best business you can build, so please get ready, open your mind, believe you can do this, and let's build a better world together for future generations. Hello everyone, my name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we are here to speak with Bret Thomson. In a nutshell, Bret shows people how to turn their words and ideas into money. A lot of this is done with copywriting, and for those of you who don't know, copywriting is a skill that will pay you for life. It's seriously one of the most important business skills because it's about articulating what you do to your ideal prospect better than anyone else. And Bret has consistently created successful multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns for his clients, and he's responsible for the marketing behind bringing Sir Richard Branson out to Australia. In fact, Bret is the secret weapon behind some of the largest and most profitable direct response marketing campaigns in Australia overall. He is a sought-after marketing expert, freelance copywriter, master sales and conversion strategist. He's an explosive and entertaining stage presenter, plus creator of one of the most popular copywriting products in Australia, the 7-Hour Sales Letter. As one of Australia's highest paid and in-demand copywriters and sales conversion strategists, I've asked him to come here today and share with us some of his best-kept secrets. Bret, thank you so much for your time today. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling pumped and excited to be on the call, Daryl. Thanks for having me, mate.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good, man. We've been chatting a bit back and forth, and I love what you do, and I love your style, and I just love how you set everything up. But obviously you didn't start out being where you're at now, so how did you get started? What were you doing before you even got into this?
Oh, yeah, good question, man. Probably 8 years ago, the only way anyone would have met me is if they walked into an industrial estate in Australia and asked for some nuts and bolts, because I worked at a nuts and bolts companies, and I've been there for 15 years. Now yeah, man. So, but it goes way back before then. I just to right now, first of all, appreciate the introduction. That was really cool. I just can't wait to hear what I'm going to say now. But
it's like, thanks. Now I got to live up to that.
Yeah. But I always tell people, in Australia, I'm regarded as one of the highest paid, most in-demand copywriters. But if my English teacher knew how much money I made from writing, she'd roll over in a grave, the poor thing, because I went through school. It was a big social event for me, to be honest with you. I didn't read a book at all. I just was so allergic to reading and writing. I was just completely allergic to it, to the point where I remember celebrating after I finished school, and I thought, this is great. I'll never have to be asked to read another book ever again. And I just thought that was awesome. And then I started 10 years. For the 10 years after school, I became a full-time investor, and I invested probably about 90% of my income into my social life. That was it, man. It was like, that's all. That was my whole priority. And I think in that time I did read one thing. There was a newspaper article I kind of stumbled across, and the headline said, how alcohol affects your brain. I went, oh no. So I decided to read that. And then by the time I finished reading it, I slammed my hand on the table and said, right, from this day on, I'm never going to read again. So that was my priority. It was just like partying and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't realise at the time, but that really helped with where I was going. I had no idea why, but I'll show you how it linked in. Cut a long story short, sometime after that, I was blessed with twin boys. Right, that was a bit of a shock, and that completely changed me, because I thought, wow, now I have new priorities, right. and a lot of people, I don't know, they just don't take parenting really seriously. But for me, I said, wow, I really stepped up and said, I'm going to just change my life and become. I just got really motivated to and I guess one of the biggest driver things was me just to become smarter, believe it or not. I thought, all right, I've got to be more intelligent. I've got to provide, and it started me off on that journey. So at the time, I was living in a shared house with 8 other people, and one of my mates was a nightclub owner, and he was very different than us because in his room it was full of books. And I used to think, what a stupid thing to put in your room if you've got a choice to put things in your room. It was books, right? So, but I thought I'm just going to go in there and start read. I felt this urge to just change my life, and I walked in there and there's books everywhere. And I'm just walking around thinking I have no idea what I'm looking for. But there's this one book that stood out on the spine. The headline was, the spine said, "Awaken the Giant Within." And I went, interesting. So I pulled that out, and there's this big dude with big teeth, Anthony Robbins, and it said how to create your destiny and change your life emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. I said, all right, maybe this is a good start. Right? And it was about 400-page book. And I remember setting my first goal. I thought, right, I'm going to read for 10 minutes a night until I finish this book, right? So I had a little timer next to me, and I started reading. As soon as the 10 minutes alarm went off, I went, that's it, next night, 10 minutes, and just read. And after a little while, I was reading, and I looked across, and it was like 23 minutes. I thought, oh, wow, I can have tomorrow night off. But it took me 6 months to read that book. But after 80 pages, I'd given away all my bad habits. I'd become a personal development kind of machine where I'd listen to CDs and seminars, and very quickly, when your lifestyle is usually hanging out at nightclubs, when you try and tell people about this and preach to them at nightclub, I very quickly burn a lot of mates, as you can imagine. I found myself in a network marketing business, and they just pumped me full of personal development. It was just great. Now, I was in there for 8 years. I ended up getting relatively high. It was in Amway. It doesn't really matter which one you're in. And I got to a stage called Platinum where I went to Hawaii. That's a really hard slog, man. But like 5-6 nights a week, man, I was just, it gave me a lot of confidence to approach people and resilience for rejection, right? That is the school of hard knocks, right? And it gave me an ability to sell, but also how to read people. You get so good when you're in front of strangers, in their lounge room, drawing circles on a whiteboard. Every night you can just look at someone's face and they just make a little inflection. You know exactly what they're thinking. And I became razor sharp at understanding how to navigate conversations in a sales thing, right? So, cut a long story short. I was making a bit of money. I was speaking on stage for the networking group, and then my business, one of the legs, I had a marriage breakup, and it kind of crumbled down, and so I wasn't really earning much money, but I was still being asked to talk and share and spread the dream and all the rest. But morally, it was a conflict, and I can't do anything that long if there's a moral conflict. So I started looking for something else, and my boys. My twin boys, I had 3 boys at that stage. I was, and again, and I said, I'm going to teach personal development for kids. So I came up with my first business idea. I thought, I'm going to do seminars and teach kids self-esteem, confidence, communication skills, and life skills. And I told everyone about it. Everyone said, Bret, you'll rock at that, man. Just go for it. So I was working a job. I'd been there for 15 years. Selling nuts and bolts and all that kind of, and it just it was kind of one of those things. You climb the ladder of success and you get to the top and you realise I was leaning against the wrong wall. So I handed in my resignation. I'm going to start my own business, and I learned very quickly that you can have a good idea on one side, but unless you know marketing, then it can just flop and you can lose a lot of money.
Yep.
Right, because I found out that everyone thought it was a great idea, but no one was prepared to pay for it.
Right, and all the people that were telling you it was a great idea probably had no business experience, and that's the other catch-22 is people do that all the time. They take advice from people that they wouldn't want to trade shoes with for that area of their life. So, yeah, I know I agree wholeheartedly. I remember a mentor of mine. He really drilled into my head by saying, good marketing can sell a non-existent product where bad marketing can't give away free gold. And I think I think that's kind of
Wow.
like what you're saying here. You know, you had something, but you had no marketing, and so it was hard. Is that correct?
That's so spot on, man. And no one's ever kind of said that to me, but you're absolutely bang on, because a part of that story, which I don't tell a lot of, but I ended up talking to some of the best marketers in Australia. Now, I don't know how I came across these guys. These guys are relatively hard to reach, but I found, I mean, you just, well, you know, with the being in the networking game, you have kind of no fear. So, I found myself, and then I shared my business idea with these guys, and they were the only ones and they pretty much said, your business model sucks.
Right.
That was their word. And me, because I was standing on so many personal development books about persistence and perseverance and determination, I thought to myself, well, I'll show you, Mr. Millionaire. You can just wait and see. So after I lost all my money, I ended up going back to them. and,
I'm laughing because I've been in your shoes. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And so in my first year of business, and raising three boys, I made $16,000. All right, so that's tough, right? Really tough. But the boys wouldn't know, because they were just nourished with so much love and support and all that kind of stuff. But so I found myself my first marketing seminar. A guy by the name of Mal Emery in Australia, known as the Millionaire Maker. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting up the back. He walked up on stage, and just so you know, Dal, because I don't tell everyone this, but the people that were speaking at this event was Mal Emery. You might not know, but there was Ted Nicholas and Joe Sugarman as well. And I had no idea who they were. But Mal Emery walked up on stage and goes, "Rightio, folks, what I'm going to share with you now has put more money in my bank account than anything I've done in my whole life." And I thought, oh, wow. And I said, in my head, I thought, whatever comes out of this guy's mouth, I'm just going to do it no matter what. And he said, it's the art of writing compelling words on paper, better known as emotional direct response copywriting. And I went, oh, no, I hate writing. And I'd only just started reading. That's the last thing I want to do. But I made the decision. So I said, right, so that's what I'm going to do. So he invited a guy up on stage by the name of Pete Godfrey, who's one of the best copywriters in Australia. And Pete did a presentation, and I said, yeah, it's cool. I spent my last $500, and that's no word of a lie, to go to an event and learn this more. And it really clicked for me, mate. I just really understood, because copywriting is just salesmanship in print, right? So it just really resonated with me. So I started applying these copywriting skills into my own business and started getting some results. And people started emailing me saying, "Hey, Bret, who's writing your emails, and who wrote your sales letter?" And I said, "Well, it was me." And they said, "Listen, we're putting some campaigns together. Are you open if we pay you to write for us?" And I thought, well, I'm not earning any money, so yeah, why not? That sounds cool. And I started just hitting it out of the park for people, just promotion after promotion, just really tapping into it and getting some great results. And then a short time after, Mal Emery rang me up and said, "Hey, I've got this sales letter in front of me. Apparently someone said you wrote it. Is it true?" And he told me. I said, "Yeah, that's mine." He said, "That's probably one of the best sales letters I've seen in Australia in the last 10 years. I thought, well, I'm not surprised. No, I didn't say that. But cut a long story short, I started writing for Mal. Within a few months, I became his personal copywriter. I was on a good, healthy six-figure salary. So financially, I was doing cool. And then outside of that, I started my own business. I took a product in partnership with someone, and everyone was struggling to sell it for $498 around Australia. I looked at all the copy, and I put my copy touch all over it, and I was able to sell the same product for $1,498, and I outsold everyone else by 600%.
Wow.
Right. The interesting thing is, Dal, is the product didn't change. The only thing that changed was the words in the marketing.
Which is huge, and so many people don't even get that. I mean, I've done work for clients online where simply just by testing a better headline, I've doubled, I've tripled, and I've quadrupled results on their sales pages just by getting a better headline. So I fully agree. And I'm saying that, I know you know, but I'm saying just in case our listeners, if they're new to copywriting, I know it seems fickle and I know it seems silly, but you really can have exponential growth in your business without changing anything. I mean, these people, like what I did, it was online marketing, and they were getting the same amount of traffic, and the product was the same price, everything was the same. But because we had a headline that grabbed people's attention better, we got more people to actually read it, which led to more people buying and moving on to the next step in the process. So yeah, I fully agree that with better copy, I mean, we said at the beginning, copywriting is a skill that will pay you for life, and it's because it's about articulating, just really articulating what it is you offer to people in simple language. And I don't know if you said it when we started the recording or before that, but I remember you saying that if your English teacher knew, if she read any of your copies, she'd be rolling over in her sleep or in her grave, right? Because it's sales copywriting sounds nothing like academic writing, right? It's not about grammar. It's not about. It's about writing how you talk. So when people read it, it's easier because people don't even realize reading is difficult. It's physically, it's demanding on us. It's fatiguing. That's why people get tired. When they're sleepy when they read. Being able to write the least amount of words possible, but express the most, and really know what the other person that's reading it needs to hear. It's huge. One of the most powerful things you can do for your business.
Absolutely, man.
Yep.
And thanks for adding that. And look, if I've got time, I'd love to share the 5 things I did really well at the start, just to give some value in this call for people as well.
I don't think any of my listeners want to hear that. I don't know if they're...
Yeah.
No, by all means, man. You give us what you got. I got my pen out already too.
Cool, no worries. But I'll just give you an example of how copy can change things. And I heard this from Ryan Dice. There was a book called published in 1982 called Astrological Love, right? And that was by Nora Hayden, and over the course of its life, it sold 5,000 copies worldwide. So it didn't really take off. So now it was but in 1998 it was republished and they put a different headline on it, and the headline was "How to Satisfy a Woman Every Time and Have Her Beg for More." All right, and that sold exactly the same book, just different headline. Instead of 5,000 copies, that sold over 2.5 million, and it became #1 New York Times bestseller. Yep. Same book, different headline. Yep. So, so I guess that's what I did. I learned that skill and applied it and got some great results. And then I started freelancing for people. And then over the last probably 7 or 8 years, I've contributed to over $230 million worth of sales in Australia just through copywriting and also marketing strategy and things like that. So, and now from that, to be a great copywriter, I believe you've got to be a great marketer as well. So I really understood direct response marketing principles, and so now I've kind of merged, not just from copywriting, but I run seminars and workshops, and also we do have our own agency where we take on projects for people with copywriters underneath me and things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, again, it's copy is so quintessential. It's a huge part of everything. It's the communication that you have with all of your customers and prospects. And I mean, there are marketing legends that we've heard, their letters have been mailing for years and years and years. And, you can it's a canned and cloned copy of your sales presentation, and it's an asset. And if you get your numbers dialed in right, I mean, I know, one of my clients, we had copy, again, we're talking about online, but the copywriting is still the copywriting, whether you're mailing a sales letter or it's all copywriting. It's all the same category. We were able to accurately predict however many people we had, like leads we were able to predict within dollars how much money we would make at the end of the week. We scaled that up. We were using Facebook ads at the time, and we scaled that up to where we were spending $4,500 per day because we just knew our numbers so well. And it's just like you said, like it's taking your best sales presentation and articulating it in the written word, whether you're showing it online or offline or however. So it makes perfect sense that you're so involved and that you have a full-fledged agency that does everything, because copy is the heart of it. And I don't know if there's any business owner that would not benefit from learning the basic fundamentals of copywriting. I just don't see how, because it'll make you connect with your clients better. It'll make you a better communicator. It'll get you more clear about what it is you actually offer people that they want. I mean, you'll know what the biggest objections people have to join. Like, so many people are so detached from their customers and the front line that copywriting really, that's what it is about. It's about listening to those conversations. I mean, you should be saying this because you're more of a copy expert than I am, but I definitely appreciate it, and it's huge. It's huge.
Well, mate, I can. I mean, you just tell me where you want this to go, but I can share with you the 5 things I did really well, and you can jump in and ask any questions because there's lots more advanced stuff that I can share with people. But going back to the beginning, you're right. Everyone needs to. You don't have to write your own copy, but at least have a good understanding so you can what you're looking. You can determine between what's good and what's bad, right? And so the number one thing that I got good at the start and understood had nothing to do with writing at all, because I had no writing experience. I was actually in the research phase. And funny enough, for me to write, me personally to write a campaign that's anywhere from 25K and above, but what my client doesn't realise is I spend probably 70% or maybe 80% of my time in the researching phase and only 20% in actually writing. Because you don't have to be a great writer. You don't have to be a wordsmith. You just have to understand like the psychology of the client and what's going to make them take the next step. Gary Benjavenga said that best, and I believe that that's so true, and I really got that from the start. So if anyone wants to get really good at this, instead of trying to be craft some compelling words, just talk to your clients and research, what makes them tick. See, if someone was going to pay a copywriter to do a project, they generally send a questionnaire to the copywriter. The copywriter will send a questionnaire to the business owner, and the business owner would start filling out these questions like, what are the 3 biggest frustrations, what keeps them up at night, and what's the benefits, all that kind of stuff. Then the copywriter will take that and try and craft a sales message. But what I did, I got that from the business owner, but I also said, hey, business owner, can you give me 10 of the phone numbers of 10 of your top clients, most recent clients? I want to give them a call. And then I'd ring up them and I'd ask them to fill that out or ask them those questions over the phone, because what the business owner thinks he knows about the market is generally completely different to what the client is. And you're marketing to the client, you're not marketing to impress the business owner. So look, and also a campaign that might have worked, 2, 3, 4 years ago may not work today because markets change and evolve and people's awareness change. So you've got to really, you've got to really stay current with what's going to make people respond, because some of the old tactics that they don't really respond to. I mean, now, like, even if you look at lead magnets, and you know this, Darryl, offering a big 180-page ebook as a lead magnet, that's not going to get the opt-ins like it used to, because people don't have time. So you've got to evolve, Yep. So that's the one thing is the researching phase. So I interview people and look at forums, and also look at the language they were writing, because you can get clients to write copy for you. If you just send a simple survey out to your database or that said, what's your number one single biggest frustration to do with XYZ, and you incentivize them to fill it out, and they'll start writing copy for you. So I'm frustrated about this and this and that, and you don't have to be too clever. You just use those words and turn them into bullet points, headlines. Because when they read that, they'll think, oh wow, that's me.
That's me. It's made for me. And humans, we have this, and forgive me for interjecting here, but I think this is a great point to articulate and help people with an example. If you've been suffering from a migraine, a headache, terrible headache for days, and you just resolve, that's it, I'm going to go to the store and I buy something, and you go to your drugstore and you go down the medicine aisle, and all the shelves are empty except for there's 2 products on the shelf, and there's one is this big jar of green glop, and on it says medicine, and it's 99 cents, and beside it is this tiny little bottle, and it's $3.99, but it says, it says migraine pills, cures most migraines in 20 minutes or less. You know what I mean? Like people are more likely to buy the migraine one, even though it's more expensive, right? Just because the other one says medicine cures everything, but you have no idea how long it's going to take. Is it for me? But people want things that are custom fit. We don't buy a shoe. We buy a running shoe, a hiking shoe, a dress shoe, walking shoe. You even get walking shoes. I think that's the most ridiculous thing. Like, but people want custom built things. So
Yeah.
what you're saying, like this is gold. And people that are listening to this, I say this often, but I'm not bringing on just anybody onto these calls. Like this is good stuff. I mean, it's just survey your people and use that into copy and really get those pain points. Like, and ask things. What's your number one frustration? Why is that frustrating you? What would it mean to your life if this problem was alleviated? I mean, when people give you and pour out their hearts for those answers, and you can articulate those back to people, I mean, you're just going to blow away your competition.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of some copywriters are a bit lazy on that part. They get information from the business owner, but the gold is the clients. You let them tell you how to sell to them and how to communicate with them, and use their words back to them. But it's all emotional driven, and I'll talk about that shortly. But the second thing I got really good at was coming up with the big idea, and that's where you can really. Look, I believe everyone's just one big idea away from their next $1 million payday. Mm-hmm. And so there's so many. A lot of people just play the safe ground. I always like to push it to the edge and try and come up with that out of the box idea. Now, a big idea can be to do with the offer, and I love the story. It's a bit of a legend story. I think Bob Stuvak, I might have got his name wrong, in Las Vegas, who bought a rundown casino, and everyone said, you're crazy. So he made this offer. I think it was for $197. You could stay at his casino for the weekend, or for 2 nights. You get $1,000 worth of chips to use in the casino, and you can keep all the winnings. When you're at the table, you get free drinks. You get a bottle of champagne to your room every night. You get a choice of a gift of a diamond ring, or I think it was a VHS, video player. You get tickets to the show. And so. Everyone, I know, and everyone thought that's crazy. How could he make money? Like that's crazy. But he knew his numbers, right? He knew that if he got someone into his casino, even if he gave them $1,000 head start, he would always come out winner. So he knew his numbers, and then as soon as the 2 days was over, they'd jump on the phone and book them in again, and it just exploded, right?
Yep. And when saying he knew his numbers, you mean like the lifetime customer value, right? Which means the amount of money the typical customer is going to spend during their relationship with you, averaged out amongst all your customers, right?
Correct. Yeah,
yes.
He knew even if you gave him $1,000 head start, he knew they'd be spending more with him. It was just so. And Dan Kennedy, he was asked if you could go back in time and do it all over again, what would you do differently? And one of the answers he said was, I'd go negative on the front end to acquire a customer, because of that. But now, not everyone can afford to do that. But even if you break even, because once you get a customer once, it's 10 times easier to sell something to them.
Right.
Right.
Right. Everyone thinks you get a customer to make a sale, but that's backwards. You make a sale to get a customer. A sale is a golden egg, and a customer is the goose who lays golden eggs. So I'm with you 180%. So
another cool story of the big idea is from legend Gary Halbert, who I've learned more from than anyone in copywriting. He was given the task of coming up with or selling a new perfume brand. Now, a B-grade copywriter would have come up with a lame headline like, I don't know, Essence of the Night or something completely unspecific. But no, Gary, he took out a full newspaper ad, and when anyone listening to this, imagine if you saw a headline like this because here's the thing, when you're looking at a newspaper, it's estimated you're staying on a page 3 seconds, right? And this is the third thing I got good at is is taking a big idea and turning it into a headline, right? And this is a great example of how you can use headlines. So the headline Gary put on for this selling this perfume was, wife of Hollywood star swears under oath her new perfume does not contain illegal sexual stimulants.
Right, I remember that. Yes.
And the subhead was, and to prove it, she's given away 10,000 free bottles at the hotel. Well, I can't remember where the hotel was, right? And then it had a full page information about it. So now, if you're flicking through the newspaper, as if you're not going to read more when now that headline and concept, big idea concept, that motivated 6,000 or 7,000 people to jump in their car, drive down to the hotel to get their free bottle, and it caused a traffic jam. And I mean, in Australia, mate, we don't even get that many people at a football match. It's just like a lot of people, right? And that's an example of coming up with a big idea and then finding that and turning it into a headline. And again, that's the third thing I got very good at, was coming up with headlines. And again, because like most people stay on a page on a newspaper for only 3 seconds. So, and with the website and online, it's very similar. So you can. There's no use having an irresistible offer or an amazing guarantee lost down in your sales page. They have to scroll down. They look at the headline and they ask themselves, is this worthy of my time? Is this going to solve a problem that I have right now, yes or no? If the answer is no, they'll just go to somewhere else. Right. So the headline is 80% of it. And I know Ted Nicholas, who I've got to know over the years, who's probably done more space ads than almost anyone in the world. He ran an ad with in one publication, and then the next week after, he ran the exact same ad, but all it had was a different headline. So same font, same body, same offer and everything, but just a different headline. And the second ad outperformed it by 1,700 times. Right. So purely because of the headline. So I know we touched on this before. But that's another way of one thing I got very, very good at, because it's 80% of your success is the headline. Yep. So if someone says, well, how do you get good at headlines, right? Well, number one, email subject lines, they're mini headlines as well. Instead of opening up your email every day and just pressing delete, just have a quick scan through the email subject lines. If there's anything that creates curiosity, intrigue, and the desire to want to know more, then copy and paste it, put it in a Word doc called cool email subject lines. If you see headlines on ads or anywhere, just copy and paste it. Create your own swipe file. That's how I started getting good at it.
That's a huge. In fact, a tidbit that I use. Vic Schwab wrote a book called "How to Write an Advertisement," and he's got a list of 100 headlines in there. And one of the things that I do, and I'm not even like in the same ballpark as you with headlines, but I go through those 100 or as many of them as I can and try to repurpose them for my purpose, just to get you like thinking, get the juices flowing, because that's huge. Exactly like what you said. When I had my martial arts school, I ran an ad campaign online, just trying to get people to sign up for a free trial. And I had like 11 different appeals, and I'd like get in shape, lose weight, meet people, self-defense, compete, all that. And the one that outpulled the number 2 by like 1,100% was free fighter fitness and skill assessment. And we did the same thing with everyone when they came in. Whenever someone came in, we did the same thing. We made them do some, did a fitness assessment, did a demo lesson, and then that was that. But this now, just because we repurposed it and we were in better connection with who our target market was, that was exactly like you're saying. Like, it can be the difference. And the reason why I wanted to articulate that is because something that was a mystery for me is I just blindly followed one of my mentors a long time ago who told me copy was so important. And I started learning from Gary Halbert and Gary Bencivenga and all the greats, and reading the Gene Schwartz books and everything I could, but I never I'm like, great, but how does this turn into money? Like, I just didn't really kind of get it. I'm like, I can communicate better with my current clients, but I didn't understand how it would help me get new people. And I just wanted to mention something that we talked about, I think, before the call, and that's that any business, I want to like dispel a myth, and someone's gonna maybe, I don't know, tell me I'm an idiot, but there's this whole thing about inbound marketing versus outbound marketing, and I love inbound marketing, but you can't scale that quickly. You can't scale people coming to you. You can't directly control that. You can't turn it on and off like a tap, but you can outbound marketing. You can decide, I'm going to make 200 cold calls. You know, like, and of course we all hate it and all that stuff, but when it comes to advertising, like you're talking about, whether you're putting in direct mail, whether you're running ads to send people to your site, you can scale that, right? You can say, I'm going to buy 100 visitors today from whatever site and send them to my site, and you can scale that super fast. But you're not going to be able to turn that into money unless you've got really powerful copy that does that for you. That, just like I described with my 11 different appeals, and like Bret's been telling us, you know, if you don't know the conversation going on inside your customer's head, you know, you're gonna spend a lot of money to learn a lot of data, you know, get a lot of data, but you need to know how to improve it and go. And I just wanted to put that in there because for a lot of people listening, I know for me, for years, I'm like, great, copy's important. I'm writing these sales letters out by hand, but like, when does this turn into money? And it took me years to figure that out. That, oh, that's because to be a real business and grow and scale, you actually have to advertise. And that, I don't know why that's really such a mystery for a lot of people, but you know, in most industries that's the case. And I just want to put that out there. And what do you think? I mean, maybe I'm out on a limb, and by all means.
No, man, absolutely. No, I appreciate it, because a lot of the times I just assume everyone knows, you know, the importance of it, but it's good to put that in perspective, mate. And all the guys in our industry, we're complete marketing nerds, but if you look at the legends in our industry, they're all, a lot of them have their core base skill is they're very great they're great copywriters, like Evan Pagan, obviously Ryan Levick, you know, he's a legend. Frank Kern, I mean, of course, Dan Kennedy, he's like the top of the tree, but so you know, so yeah, I mean, it is, and the guys that are really crushing it with paid advertising, they know that some of the biggest assets in their team is the copywriter, and every time they just scale, they just pay more for a copywriter, that just comes back, gives them a lot better return. So that's good, mate. I'm glad you added that. So one of the other things I got really, and I'll just also say as well that a lot of the things I'm saying might not sound like really advanced, and they're very principles based. But this is important because I mean I can do day long conferences on all the ninja tricks and all that, but really, like, you've got to understand these principles. If you just understand this, you always fall back on these core principles. So one of the other things that you've really got get good at is writing in a conversational style, and that was easy for me because I was failed English all through school. So and where people go wrong, and when I say conversational style, you kind of write as you speak, right? Or to be more specific, write as your market speaks. Yeah, this is absolutely critical because most people feel compelled to use big words, and it could be ego-based. They try and sound intelligent, and they write very institutionalized or textbook kind of style, and that just puts people to sleep and bores them straight away. So write in a conversational style. A good way to do that is if you sit down with someone you feel comfortable with, and get your smartphone and sell them on your idea, sell them about your business, and get the whole thing recorded. Invite them to throw up objections and deal with those objections on the spot, right? Because here's the thing, in your sales message, there's a certain number of boxes you've got to tick in people's minds. If you don't tick one box, they're not going to buy. So I say one objection missed is a sale missed. Right? One objection missed is a sale missed. So you've got to write with a conversational style. So you can transcribe a conversation you have with someone, get that transcribed, get that recorded and transcribed, and what you'll get back, you just take out all the ums and the ahs, but what you leave in there are what we call connectors, like things like, oh, wait, one more thing, or before I go, oh, there's another thing I've got to tell you. All those kind of conversational buffers, that join sentences, they're the glue that keep people reading, right? So I got very good at that. If you really want to get good at it, just go on to just read anything from Gary Halbert. You read a Gary Halbert newsletter, it feels like you're just sitting across the kitchen table with the guy, just having a yarn with him. I got very, very good at that very quickly, and that kept people reading, because the more they read, the more they buy. Right? The more they read, the more they buy. So a way you can keep people reading more A way, if you want to repel people, is put in big, chunky paragraphs, and people don't like reading as a rule. No one wakes up and says, "Oh, what can I read today on your website?" So my paragraphs are generally, especially in emails, it's only one sentence long. Then you have a space, and just ease it out. Because if you start with a paragraph that's like 8 words deep, I promise you now, they're not going to read the first letter of the first word. It's going to cause instant sales friction. They've already decided they're not going to read it without. So I ease them into it, right? And I try and use my sentences. I try and make them only 7 words long, right? And that's not including AI, ins and its and the little words, but just we talk. This is a bit of a caveat because I say write as you speak. A lot of the times when we speak in long sentences, but when you're writing, just try and make them as short as you can. Short words, short sentences, short paragraphs. Because if you make it long and convoluted, and even big words with lots of syllables, you're leaving yourself open for them to trip up. And if they trip up, they're going to start skim reading, and you've broken the flow.
Yep.
Right? So there are a few things where you can keep the readability way up there. So that's something I got very, very good at. The other thing I got good at, mate, was probably design. Now, I'm not a graphic artist, but when I'm putting sales pages together or landing pages or newspaper ads or whatever the case, layout and design is very important. I think over the last 8 or 10 years, Apple has really changed the game and lifted the bar. And there's the worst thing you could do is when you go to someone's site and you just don't know where to look,
right.
And it causes instant sales friction. So you just want to take out the clutter and ask yourself, what's the sole, what's the priority for your website, and you want to make that very dominant in this site. It could be to opt in, or is it to get a sale, or get them to pick up a phone, whatever the case. You don't want to cram too much in there.
And they say a confused mind never buys, right? So you don't want to give people, hey, pick one of these 8 options.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get it.
Bang on, man. Confused mind doesn't buy. That's spot on. So layout and design is going to help your readability and conversions as well, which is absolutely critical. So look, that was one thing. The other thing that I got very good at was there's a bunch of things, but now I was generally coming up with irresistible offers. And I heard Marianne Tribbley, I think I got her name right. She said, and she's responsible for grown multiple millions of dollars, maybe in the billions, I'm not sure, but she's just an amazing marketer. But she said, if you look at a campaign and you work out where the success comes from, 60% of it comes from the list, the database and the people you're marketing to. 20% comes to the offer, and the other 20% is copywriting. So you can do everything right as a copywriter, but if you're marketing to the wrong list, it doesn't matter how good your words are. And the thing is, if you have an irresistible offer to the right list, then you can actually get away with having your copywriting not as good, a little bit, it doesn't have to be bang on.
Yep.
Because an irresistible offer to the right list can carry you over the line a little bit,
No, sorry, I didn't mean. Yeah, but you're 180% there. Most people don't appreciate their customers and clients, and this goes back to even what you're saying about 80% of your work being the research. Because it really is, so much of it is about the list. So much of it is about the market and the people and what are their concerns, where are they at? I think that, again, that's just a huge tip. And again, that's another thing. People want to, what words, like, I want to use the most compelling words, and they're using all these persuasion tactics, and those only work if you have a qualified prospect in front of you who's considering buying your product. If you don't have those things in line, then I think it doesn't matter. The best copy in the world won't sell your product. So,
and something that you and I both learned when we were together at the in New York.
Titans of Direct Response events.
Yeah, that's right. Well, something that I've been teaching for a while is a lot of people say, I don't want to write long copy because I don't like long copy. I like to keep it short, all that kind of stuff. So everyone says that, and so what they do is, because they don't read those long form sales letters, they make their sites nice and short to please everyone. Well, that's idiotic, right? Because you're see, and that's something, and it was so well summed up by, I think it was Gary Benzberger. He said, "You're right to the heavy users. Always write to the heavy users, or the heavy lifters, the people who are the fanatics, but also write to them as if they're skeptics, right?" And something that he said was, which I love, just imagine if you're in a court case. If you, and I hope it doesn't happen to anyone, but you have to go to court and you have to fight to have your kids, for instance. I mean, you wouldn't leave anything out, would you? You would just go in there hell for leather and make sure that you get your best case across the line to keep your kids, right? So when I write copy, I write with that mindset. I said, I've got to get everything across the line. I don't want to leave one stone unturned, right? Because again, one objection missed is a sale missed, but I write for the enthusiasts. I don't try and please the tire kickers who are never probably going to buy anyway.
Right.
And so when someone says to me, does what works long copy or short copy? I mean, there's always exceptions. I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but see, in the sales process, you actually, weirdly enough, you don't want them to think, right? So if you pull up your copy too short and you create a void for them to think, most people are automatically going to fill it with negative, right? So, they're going to think, do I really need to buy this and that? So with long copy, if you do it well enough, you can keep them on the trail, and you avoid, you don't create space for them to think. You keep them on that flow until you take them through the process and create curiosity and desire and to know and to buy and all those psychological triggers. So you don't want them to give, you don't want to give space to think. So long copy actually kind of consumes their mind and fills their mind with what you want them to think about. But short copy, you're just leaving yourself open for the negative void to come in.
Right, and you'd never tell a sales rep, hey, here's the prospect, they're coming in for their appointment, but I need you to just only use 500 words, okay? We have a quota, we're not allowed to go over 500 words, so you just got to be careful. Like, no, you would never say it. You can't bore someone into buying from you. So your copy can't be long and boring. It needs to be as long as it needs to be to make it, like you said, to make a complete case, right? To represent all the facts, to overcome all the objections. People will buy because of one bullet. They will buy because of one objection that you address. They will buy because of one benefit of the product that you mentioned. It's just like you say, it's knowing how to present it in digestible, bite-sized pieces that are laid out in a format that's easy on the eyes and easy for people to read. That it's, it's just the most digestible it can be, and it speaks to them and that's why it speaks to them so clearly, and that's why copywriting such a such a difficult skill, because it sounds easy. But what was the quote? I forget who said it, but sorry my letter wasn't shorter. If I had more time, I would have written you a shorter letter. And it's because that editing process, that refining process, the data collection process, that's all very, very time consuming. And and like you said, I remember I watched, you got some free training on your site on how to do copywriting, and I went through and I watched it. It was great stuff. And I remember you were just giving all these examples that you've done for things that you've done with your copywriting, and all the different examples that you know what I mean, like all the different headlines. You're like, I'm just playing around with it, and we weren't even vet approved yet, but I threw that in the headline, and you just got creative and crazy with it. But it just got you just creating these headlines and just really just pulling your guts out there, and gave you all this arsenal that you could then refine and sift and sort down, and give you these really punchy. That's why they're called bullet points. It's supposed to be a bullet. It's supposed to impact you. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Can you recap on the like you said, the 5 steps? What were the 5 steps? Like just the titles of them. Can we summarize them?
Yeah, sure, man. The first one was the researching, which everyone thinks is boring, but it's the most important thing.
Right.
Right, because without that, you won't be good at number 2, which is the big idea.
Right. And is that also the hook? Is that what people mean when they say like the hook?
Yeah. It is. But the big idea is the hook. It could also be, the big idea can be just not only just the message, but it can be the media. say, hey, have you tried reaching these people? Have you done joint venture with that people? So coming up with a big idea, I added so much value to my clients, and they were happy to pay me top dollar because it wasn't just the copy. I came up with strategy and way to find clients and different places to get their message out there and things like that. So the big idea encapsulates all that as well, and then the third thing I got very good at was taking the big idea and putting them into headlines. And again, that's, man, you could do everything right, but if you stuff your headline up, then man, you're gonna really, because the headline's everything. I mean, people won't click on your email unless that first part's correct. Same with your ad, if you're doing a paid ad, or your blog post titles, or your video titles, or and so on and so forth. So headlines, I got very, very good at that. And I tell people, when I write a headline, I generally have a goal to try and do 100 headlines. I do a headline dump, right? Because sometimes people wait for, they visualize and they wait for they meditate on coming up with a good headline, but motion beats meditation. That's what Gary Halbert said. So you've got to be mechanical. So give yourself permission to suck at writing headlines. Write some bad ones and some shocking ones, stupid ones, and just start working on them and build on it. Just be mechanical. By the time you get to number 37, 38, all of a sudden you get the flow, and you'll just won't be able to. Your pen won't be able to write, or you won't be able to type as fast as your brain gives you information. So. Also, just very quickly, try and be as edgy as you can, and even to the shocking factor if you can as well. So yeah, the third one was headlines. The fourth one was write conversational, write as you speak. That was absolutely critical, and that because once people go from the headline, you've got to keep them engaged and get them to read more. And the fifth one was have a good eye for design. You don't have to be a graphic artist, but make sure all your words and all the effort you put in is going to be read and not being cluttered, and you've got to make sure there's a good flow. So, because the more they read, the more they buy. The more you tell, the more you sell. So just be mindful of design. And I just topped it off at the end. I just said coming up with irresistible offers was another thing that I get very good at, especially with the online marketing funnels these days. In the last, probably 4 or 5 years, the evolution of online marketing funnels is just growing and growing and growing. So you've really got to understand what the tripwire is in your core offer, and make sure that's congruent with each other and all that kind of stuff. So I've got very good at coming up with offers for people and just helping them think of other things you can add and perceive value, things like that. So for instance, when I sold my product from $498 to $1,498, one bonus thing I threw in there was unlimited email support for 12 months, right? And that just made the conversions go through the roof. Now, it wasn't my fault that no one used it, right? It was there, we were there, but hardly anyone used it. But the perceived value was massive. But we were lucky just to get 1 or 2 emails a week. No one actually used it, but man, they sure paid for it. So.
And why did you offer that? Was that because of some insight that you had in your research to help make the offer better?
Yeah, look, pretty much, mate. I mean, I'm a massive student for direct response marketing. Any time I get, I'm reading, watching videos, and doing courses. I'm never ending. Look, I'm a complete direct response marketing nerd, so I'm consuming myself all the time with stuff like that and seeing what's working and what's not. So yeah, that was just an overflow. I'm always throwing new ideas in there, and that's why people pay me, the good bucks to have my brain in their business, is because while they're out there doing stuff, I'm in my spare time reading and learning stuff. It is my passion, and I love what I do. So so I'm always throwing different ideas out to clients in my own business as well.
That's awesome. Bret, you've given us some real gold here. I mean, some of this stuff is just really top notch. I mean, a lot of people don't even want to give away some of the details like you did, especially like recording your best sales rep on the phone and, how to break that down and turn that into something that you can use. So thank you so much. I mean, this has really been golden. And I promise anyone that's listening to this, if they just follow the steps and do the work, I guarantee that they will get results at the other end. I mean, just what you've covered here with me is phenomenal. And if people just followed what you've described here, that will take them leaps and bounds beyond where their competition is right now. So maybe can you
Yeah,
tell me, what is it that you're doing right now? What are you excited about? And how do people get in touch with you?
yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it, and I'll just say that you make it easy for me. I love your interviewing style, and you're a great guy. So kudos to you there too, brother. So, mate, for me, it would be well, what I'm doing now is I'm partnered up with my beautiful bride, Lanika Cruz, who's
Uh,
yeah, she's you know the most inspiring personal development person I've ever met. She's we both wrote a book together. I wrote a book called Client Rush, so you go to clientrushbook.com, and her one was Beggars Can Be Choosers, about her personal story about going from being a young girl, 14-year-old on the streets as a young 14-year-old girl, and she lived on the streets and put herself through correspondence school and got degrees, and now is a doctor. She's quite amazing. So we run workshops together where we blend marketing and mindset, so called Marketing Makeover HQ, and we do have a coaching program. We have implementation workshops because a lot of people, they love learning that, but they just don't have time to actually implement. So in Australia, we run we do teaching, but we also give them time to implement certain aspects and put them and get them implemented in their business. And also working on kind of defining my niche a bit more and working with people who want to fill events and seminars, because probably close to 80% of my clients were seminar promoters and putting bums on seats and things like that. I got very, very good at getting people to turn up to seminars and workshops and retreat and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be creating some stuff for that space as well. But mate, you can check out clientrushbook.com, or you can go to my blog, brettthomson.com. So it's Bret with one T, Thomson without a P, just to make it difficult. brettthomson.com. Yeah, man, that's us in a nutshell, buddy.
that's awesome. So they can go to clientrush.com or Bret B.
Oh no, so it's
Oh, my
clientrushbook.com.
apologies. Clientrushbook.com or brettthomson.com. BRETTHOMSON.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it.
And it was Bret Thompson. It was Bret Thompson I went to, where you've got your free copy course. I mean, that was awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a paid for
yeah,
seminar that you're just giving away for people once they join your list, right? So
yeah.
anyone that's interested in this, I watched it. I really enjoyed it. I think it would be a great foray. If you're brand new to this, it's definitely something worth looking into. If you're already writing copy, Bret definitely has stuff you can learn, and it's free. So by all means, I highly endorse and recommend his copy stuff. So again, clientrushbook.com or brettthomson.com. Bret, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your wisdom with us. I really, really, really appreciate you contributing to the tribe, and just thank you and wish you and your family all the best.
Oh, that's awesome, man. It's been my pleasure. And again, it's you make it so much easy for us, buddy. So thanks again, Dale. It's great, buddy.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.